The big conferences, the big trade shows, people are always surprised how much these companies are spending to be there. Like those big booths that are like in the trade show conference floor, like some of those booths are $50,000, $100,000, millions of dollars, depending on the scale of the booth itself. And typically it's just a rental. Like some of those booths, it's a one-time fee of $80,000 for the rental. And the reason being is one, the design factor, the labor factor, getting it there. But why? Why are they doing it? The reason they're doing that is because when you go to these trade shows, they're there to get sales. They're there to get attention. They're there to get people drawn in, talk to them about the product, about the service, about whatever they're trying to promote. And the theory is, hey, if I got a bigger booth, it's going to show my professionalism. It's going to show that I am a legit company, and people are going to be attracted, because the bigger the booth, the more elaborate the booth, more people are going to come by and come talk to you, and then you can convert them into sales, convert them into clients. But when it comes to attention, what's the thing that gets the most attention other than a car wreck on a freeway? In my opinion, it would be lights and cameras. Have you ever seen someone with a camera or someone with a lighting setup that didn't draw attention from the crowd? Every time I've ever seen, whether it be a newscast or a podcast setup or man on the street with any kind of camera rig, if there's lighting involved, if there's a camera involved, if there's microphones involved, it's like moths to a flame. It brings everyone there. One thing we've had success at Harper Belmont is bringing that to trade shows, bringing that to conferences. And what we'll do is we'll build out the big set. We'll build out the interview set. We'll have the lights. We'll have the cameras. And what that does is it brings people to your booth. Now, the secret there, I guess it's not a secret, but the strategy there is it's more than just the media, because once you have the cameras, the lighting, the news desk, then you're able to draw the big name speakers of the event, the keynote speakers of the event, to your booth to do interviews. Because the reality is, why are they there speaking at that event? They're there to be on stage. They're there to put their branding out there. They're there to talk to as many people as possible. So when you're doing interviews, when you have a camera, in their mind, that is another opportunity to exploit the event for branding purposes. At your booth, you're never going to get the keynote to come hang out with you at your booth. If you're doing interviews, if you're doing media, getting them to come hang out with you at your booth, and by the way, it's not a hangout. Hey, come do an interview. Yeah, sure, cool, what time? Now you have your keynotes, you have your big name speakers, politicians, whoever it may be, at your booth. The trick here, instead of only just having an interview set up, you also have maybe a couple of couches to have like a little lounge area. That way, if you have a big name speaker to come by and maybe somebody else is doing an interview, then you can hang out with them and have a good conversation. Now you can have a genuine interaction, make a connection. Keep in mind, all your attendees walking by are going to see that keynote. They're going to see that big name speaker at your booth, and they're going to slow down and go, why is that guy talking to the keynote? How did that girl get headline speaker to come hang out at their booth? On top of that, you have a behind the scenes photographer getting candid pictures, because the reality is post pictures, everybody has that. But how many people can actually have a genuine conversation and document that, put that on LinkedIn, and immediately you're validated. Immediately you have authority. Not only do you have them doing interviews where you have content for days on the internet, not only do you have them at your booth and people walking by, the third aspect of the booth is now you have your traditional cocktail tables. You have your traditional area where people, your sales guys are selling. When you have the lights, when you have the cameras, when you have the keynotes, when you have all that activity, people are drawn to activity. They're drawn to the lights, they're drawn to the cameras, they're drawn to the speakers, and now they have an open area where they can kind of come in and go, what is going on here? And you're like, hey, I'm an ABC company and we do XYZ. What brings you to this conference? How can we help you? and boom, you either have a lead, you have a connection, you have a conversation, and you have activity. That's why people go to conferences. They go there for the leads, they go there for the activity, they go there for sales. All of this is a strategy that is done at every event ever, but only from the event organizer standpoint. Sponsors have yet to kind of think outside the box to say, hey, let me do that. As a sponsor, as an exhibitor, when you use this strategy, you get to ride the coattails of the event itself, because in some ways, you are another activation of the event. Even if you are not officially sanctioned, even though you're not officially a part of the event and you're just a paid vendor, you're a paid exhibitor, people will assume that you are an elevated spot because you have the keynotes, because you have the vendors. Now, I would also suggest bringing in the event organizers, having them come sit down and have them speak, because that further validates you. This overall strategy, in my opinion, even as a video production content guy, you could almost not even push record, and this strategy validates itself and proves valuable. Now, that would be stupid, because why would you not record it? There's so much valuable content, and if you're going to 4 trade shows a year, you can use that content over the next 2 to 3 months, whether it be through the long form, the short form, through pictures, and really just double down on your ROI of the event. Because let's face it, that's the whole point of events, is the ROI. If I'm spending $30,000 at this event, I need to at least get $30,000 to $50,000 in sales, connections, or whatever back. Now, if you're only getting like a 1-to-1 return, you're probably never going back to that conference. Everybody has their own metrics for success. A lot of people, when it comes to branding, have different metrics altogether. But ultimately, if you're able to raise your exposure, raise your standing, raise your authority, the PR value of that is so high that even if you don't get sales at that event, you will be remembered. And in a lot of ways, being remembered is just as valuable as a sale. Granted, a sale would be much, much better. So ultimately, I'm a firm believer in this strategy. I've only seen a few people do this, and frankly, the only people who have done it are the people that we've worked with. The pitfalls to it is if you do not have extroverted people to catch the people around, like if you have people that want to sleep in or get drunk or not necessarily work the show, but are there to party, it's not going to be successful. But if you have killers that are there to make sales, literally this strategy is like a giant fishing net that just brings in all the leads. And if you have killers that are there to really just soak all that in and capture all those leads, then it's highly successful. Also, you need to make sure you have a representative who is good on camera. You know, they don't have to be great on camera, but if you have somebody who looks good, sounds good, and can actually engage with people on camera, I think that's huge. This strategy also doesn't necessarily work when you're doing B2C. You know, you want to do B2B. You want to have that. It really shines the B2B world, the business to business world, especially when you're in industries that are very niche-y. Lastly, you know, another thing to think about, or another pitfall, is if you have somebody in the marketing department who is looking at view counts and they're like, oh, not enough people saw the content, you know, this was a waste of money. It's like, timeout. Remember what I said about the value of doing the strategy. The value is in the attention. The value is in bringing people over. So if you went to an event in February and only got 17 leads doing a traditional strategy, and then you go to another event in April using this strategy, but you got 73 leads, what's the difference? Obviously, and you know, ceteris paribus, all things being equal, if only thing that changed was the strategy, then obviously the strategy is fruitful. But going back to the view count, you're always going to have naysayers. They're like, oh, not enough people saw the video, so it was a waste of time. Again, I fall back to, you could get away with almost not even recording and the value would still be there. But you would never do that. There's so much more value in the content itself. To summarize the strategy, you're using media at an event to really bring in the attention, to almost hijack the event to where it's like, hey, I know this event spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars to make this event, and we get to come in at a fraction of that and get as much attention as they have for ourselves. I think that's a great strategy. If you want to learn more, if you want to hop on a call, if you have questions, drop them in the comments. Reach out to me. I ain't hard to find. I mean, I'm pretty accessible, whether that be through an email, through a text message, through the comment section on a video. I'm here. Would love to connect. Would love to explore this option with you. Our team, we do this. We have all the equipment, and we can go anywhere. We can go anywhere in the country. The reality is we could probably go anywhere in the world. It just matters what the budget is. But we have all the equipment. We can load up in a truck and be anywhere in the country within 2 to 3 days. So we've done this in Dallas. We've done this in Houston. We've done this in Austin. We've done this in Memphis. Would love to do this in Vegas and all over the country. So reach out, let's connect, and let's bring some attention to your company. Take care.